Dash, if Roethlisberger's not 100%, do you bring him back for this week against the Chiefs?
Probably not.
You heard it here first.
Welcome to the Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? It's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to our Week 7 Steelers at Kansas City preview. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with Jay Dash. The Pittsburgh Steelers had a surprising victory against the Arizona Cardinals last week. Landry Jones came in, dominated, showed everybody why I think Mike Vick's garbage. Do I think Landry Jones is going to dominate and have a quarterback rating over 140 again? The answer is no.
Yeah, I don't know how well he'll play, but there still is a possibility of Big Ben playing in this game. I heard he said that he's going to split reps in today's practice, Wednesday's practice, with Landry Jones, and he's going to try to find out if he can do it or not as fast as he can. And if he can, he'll take more reps, and if he can't, he's going to back off and let Landry Jones do it because he wants Jones to get enough reps if he's not going to play.
Now, there's two sides to this argument, and let me know which side you're on, Dash, even though I think I already know. Roethlisberger is under 500 when he comes back from an injury.
Right.
Now, does that because we're always rushing him back from injury, or is that just how he is when he is first came back from a little bit of rust? The guy averages under 200 yards passing. So do you bring him back this week if he's 90% or better and let him suck this week against Kansas City and play well against Cincinnati? Or do you just hope that the actual extra rest will make him not have that slump and maybe just the adrenaline he gets for the Cincinnati game keeps him jacked up?
Well, I'd have to be there to know for sure. It could be either one. They could either rush him back or he could just be a little rusty. In my opinion, if he's 90% or better, like you said, I would bring him back and let him play in this game because even though he's under 500, I think this is a very winnable game, even if Landry Jones is in, actually. But if Big Ben's in there, I really expect them to win this game. And then if they do lose, at least you go into Cincinnati having that off your back, and we need to win that game.
We definitely need to win the Cincinnati game. I'm hoping that the Steelers aren't looking ahead to that game, and kind of overlooking this 1-5 Chiefs team because, yeah, they may be 1-5, and yes, they are pretty bad. Like, I'm not going to say they're not bad, but they lost to the Broncos, who are undefeated, they lost to the Packers, who are undefeated, and they lost to the Bengals, who are undefeated. Now, they also lost to the Bears and the Vikings, who are almost winless between the two of them.
All in a row, too. They were 1-0, and they've lost their last 5 games.
Yeah, and they've played 4 of their first 6 on the road. That's always tough to start out in the year. So this is going to be a tougher game than I think a lot of people expect, seeing as Kansas City looks like they're terrible sitting at 1-5.
Well, it depends. I mean, if Landry Jones is playing, I think it is going to be a tough game. But I tell you what, if Big Ben is playing in this game, man, with Martavis Bryant back, Antonio Brown will finally be happy. I think they can really torch this secondary because they're just not good. I compare them to the Ravens secondary pretty much.
The Steelers are 20-10 all-time versus the Chiefs. They're 5-2 against them since 2001. Pittsburgh won the last matchup they played at Kansas City. It was only 13-9, not a lot of offense in that game. I really have a feeling that Ben came back from an injury. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but I have a feeling it was one of those games. They haven't lost at Arrowhead since 2009, so this is an interesting game. The Steelers are averaging 23 points at Arrowhead all time. That's with a whole bunch of different players, not necessarily this crop. But the Steelers offense with Landry Jones, if he could play, we'll say 3/4 as well. He's not going to go out and freaking throw for 500 yards, which is what it would have projected to if he played the whole game. But if he puts up 250 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, the Steelers have a great chance at winning this football game. This defense has been locked down for Pittsburgh the last few weeks.
You remember talking about Kansas City during the preseason, they came out and said they're going to take that next step and be an elite team.
Yeah.
And you know what? They had a great defense last season. And the problems were offensively. Alex Smith did not throw a touchdown pass to a receiver all season last year. So they go out, get rid of Dwayne Bowe, bring in Jeremy Maclin. You still got your beast in Jamal Charles. Right now, Jamal Charles is down. Jeremy Maclin, he's questionable with a concussion. He didn't practice today. So they got Nal Davis and Charkandrick West in the backfield. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything against this defense because, I mean, the defense has stopped the run pretty much all season long. And in the passing game, if they don't have Maclin, Albert Wilson's going to be their number one receiver probably. And then you got Travis Kelce. That's the one X factor in this game to me is Travis Kelce because the Steelers have problems against tight ends. And Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends in the game. So, I mean, the only guy I'm worried about on the offense right now for Kansas City is Travis Kelce. But yeah, they did look better coming into the season to me. But with these injuries offensively and just a huge letdown out of this defense, I mean, Kansas City's just not a good team right now.
I was pondering this as I was falling asleep last night. Could Alex Smith actually be the type of quarterback that can beat the Steelers defense? Because we're playing real opportunistic defense right now. We're taking the ball away a lot, but he doesn't give the ball away. So if the offense isn't making a lot of mistakes to help give our offense a shorter field with our third string quarterback in, could Alex Smith being able to take care of the ball and dink and dunk his way down the field actually kind of be a formula for success against the Steelers D?
Yeah, in a way it would, but I think that kind of quarterback also needs a run game out there. If you can't run the ball against this defense and, like I always say, always become one-dimensional against this defense, I think he can do a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying the Steelers are going to shut him out or anything, but I just don't see it out of Alex Smith. I mean, especially with no receivers out there right now.
I've never been a fan of Alex Smith. He was terrible coming out of college. He kind of had a resurrection a few years back in San Francisco, then lost his job to Colin I Suck Kaepernick. So I just...
I mean, if you put enough weapons around him, yeah, he can do a pretty good job because, like you said, he's not going to turn the ball over a lot. If you give him a good defense, I mean, you can have good teams that way, but it's just not around him right now, and he's not the kind of quarterback that's going to carry his team to victory.
Would you rather have Smith or Landry Jones?
Oh, I think I'd rather have Alex Smith in this offense, for sure. I mean, we've seen, 2 quarters, not even 2 quarters out of Landry Jones. If you're going to say Alex Smith or Landry Jones, I'm going to go Smith all day. But who knows? Maybe Landry Jones turns into a guy who's going to start for someone down the road.
Well, that's the first time Alex Smith has ever been picked over anybody. So there you go, Alex Smith. You should feel better about yourself now. What about James Harrison on this defense? I was one saying in the preseason, if he has to play more snaps than what Jarvis Jones is playing, that he's going to wear down over the year. I don't know if I was right about that one. Got 22 tackles, 2 sacks. He's destroying people right now. His motor is still 100%. I mean, any injury could take place. You know what I mean? He could slow down at any time. But Harrison just looks like a freaking beast out there.
Yeah, he looked good last game. For sure, I gave him my Defensive Player of the Week, right?
I think so. I don't
but
usually pay attention.
You also got to remember, it's just going into week 7 still. We're not even halfway through the season. So there's a lot of season to be played still, and a lot of time for a lot of players to wear down here late in the season.
Well, with no Jamal Charles, maybe no Jeremy Maclin, you already said Travis Kelce is a guy who can hurt the Steelers. Of course, tight ends are always killing the Steelers. Does the offense scare you at all? I mean, really, do you feel like they have a shot at putting together a legitimate game plan against the Steelers defense? We're only giving up 18 points per game. The Chiefs are only scoring 21.2 points per game. That's not a very good formula for the Chiefs.
Well, yeah, I mean, they started out okay. I mean, they scored 27 points in the first game of the season, 24 in the second game, and 28 in the third game. Since then, it's gone down each week, 21, 17, and 10. So just 27 points over the past 2 weeks against the Bears and the Vikings, their easiest competition so far this season. So they're on a downtrend, and without Jamal Charles, I mean, it's hard to be scared about this offense. Yeah, like I said, Travis Kelce. Now, there is Charkandrick West still. I mean, when Charles went down, everybody was saying Charkandrick West has the same type of skill set as Jamal Charles, and he only played 1 game so far, had 9 carries in that game. I think it was 33 yards, so it isn't like he had a huge role in that game, and maybe they extend his role this week, and maybe he is a playmaker still, and they're going to have to look out for him if he is. But, I mean, going into your second game, it's hard to tell if this guy is for real or not, only having 9 carries last week.
What about the Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell? Can he get it going versus this Chiefs defense? They're pretty stout against the run. They only give up 97.4 yards per game.
Who'd they face so far? The Broncos, they don't really have a run game. The Packers, they haven't had a run game this season. The Bengals' run game hasn't been as good as people thought this season, with Jeremy Hill somewhat of a letdown. The Bears, they haven't had Forte, so I wouldn't say they have a good run game, but at least they faced one of the elite running backs there. And then Vikings, they shut down Adrian Peterson last week. You remember at one point in that game, actually, Peterson had 17 carries for 16 yards or something.
I don't want to remember that fantasy week. It was rough for me.
But if Landry Jones can be what he was last week, that'll really help Le'Veon Bell out as well. The Minnesota Vikings, they don't have much of a passing game outside of Stephon Diggs out there now, it looks like. So if they can open up this passing game a little bit, and we've seen it the past 3 weeks, when you don't have anything going in the passing game, they stack the box. Like Le'Veon Bell, man, he broke a couple big runs the past 3 weeks, but his numbers weren't consistently good. You take away those big runs, and he only had a couple yards in each game, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I see it as them being able to stack the box and him still being able to find enough success for the Steelers to win. So
Right.
Once we get a legitimate pass threat out there, I'm
That's
not
what I'm
too
saying.
worried about Le'Veon.
Oh, I'm definitely not worried about Le'Veon. That's what I'm saying, though. When you have no pass game going on, it's really hard for someone even as good as Le'Veon Bell to get things going. And luckily for the Steelers, he did break a couple runs in each game.
First of all, I want to give a shout out to Chris Boswell, because we keep forgetting to talk about this dude, and I might forget again. He's the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. He's the first Steeler to make all 4 or 5 attempts over 40 yards, like his first kick. He's setting Steeler records. Thank you, Boswell, for finally being able to give us some consistency in the kick game. I know it's only been, 2 weeks, but it's been the best 2 weeks of our kicking game since last season, so I'll take it. Hopefully this guy can keep it going. Hopefully we're scoring touchdowns and all he's got to do is kick extra points.
You see how important the kicking game is, though. The only loss we had without Big Ben, it was the kicking game that cost them in the end.
Right.
And same with the punter, Jordan Berry. He's been booting the hell out of the ball recently, too. Same thing. In that Ravens game, he looked like crap. Since then, he's really turned it around. And he's been pinning offenses deep in their own end.
Yeah, when your offense is struggling like us, field position means everything, and those little key plays can cost you a game, just like they did in Baltimore. But I was listening to the Mike Tomlin press conference yesterday, and he was saying that Landry Jones obviously has a better grasp of the offense than Mike Vick did, because Jones has been here for 3 years now.
Oh, you've seen it from the first play when they brought Landry in.
Are they going to open it up a little bit more, or do you think that they will still stay run, pass throughout the first half of this football game?
We'll have to see. If they start out run, pass, if Le'Veon Bell's doing the same thing he did when Michael Vick was in, I'm sure they're going to have to turn to the pass. But if Le'Veon Bell breaks a few big runs early, they might start feeding him the ball. That's what I'd have to believe anyways. I mean, if you can win by just handing the ball off, there's no reason to pass the ball.
You know, we're still averaging a shade over 225 yards passing without Big Ben being in the lineup for the last couple weeks. And I know he padded the stats a little bit in his first, game or two or whatever.
Yeah, he had over 300 yards both games.
But this Steelers team has really done everything we said they needed to do when Big Ben went out, to stay alive. The defense has stepped up. They've got more pressure on the quarterback. They've created turnovers.
They haven't turned the ball over.
Outside of the Scobie incident, the special teams is shored up. Now, they did have some penalties in the Chargers game, but I didn't see that again.
The Chargers had so many, though, it
in the
didn't
Cardinals
matter.
game, I think they shored it up a little bit. Your boy Dre Archer, he's probably averaging 28 yards a return, I would guess,
Maybe a little less.
Somewhere around there. It's just the kicking game, the return game, I should say, is so obsolete in today's NFL. I mean, a kick returner almost has no point in the league. They might as well just start it at the 20. We used to have guys like Dante Hall and Devin Hester, and to a degree, primetime Deion Sanders, but he was a good defender too. But these guys, they made game-changing plays returning the football.
By Sekihima.
You're always so deep in the end zone now. It's so hard for that to happen. So you're not going to see a lot there. But Antonio Brown, I feel like, could make a play here in the punt game. Kansas City's punt coverage, I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's around the middle of the pack, I believe, for the NFL. Brown's bound to break one at some point in this season, and he's been itching to make a big play the last couple weeks. I think he's going to be a little more happy with Landry in the lineup. He should get a couple more passes thrown his way, although Vic targeted him a lot in the last game. He just couldn't get the football to him, and I think Antonio might actually take one to the house in this game.
What?
Punt return.
Via the punt.
Yep.
How many did he have last year? Just one?
Yeah. He was...
Well,
I don't think he was
do
exclusively in the punt game last year, though. I think he was used in more situational terms.
It usually happens against bad teams, so this is a good week for it to happen. I don't know. If someone's going to do it, it's going to be Dreet Archer. How's their kicker? Is he kicking in the back of the end zone?
I forget their kicker's name. I doubt it.
He's no kickers in fantasy. We don't even talk about
I know.
them.
We hate kickers, dude. Screw them. They're all garbage except for Boswell.
Oh, yeah, we should have mentioned him then in our fantasy segment. Pick him up if you use kickers.
What are the Steelers' key to victory this week against the Chiefs?
Well, if it's Landry Jones at quarterback, I would say just the offensive line needs to protect him well so he can throw like he did last week, because I think everything else is going to go well for the Steelers. I just don't see the Kansas City Chiefs as not even the same team they were last year, because this defense is just... they're just not good anymore. And without Jeremy Maclin, if he doesn't play, and without Jamal Charles, I mean, the offense isn't scary at all because Alex Smith isn't going to win you a game on his own. So just protect whoever is in at quarterback, because if Ben's in, you really need to protect him so he doesn't get hurt again. And if it's Landry Jones, just protect him to make things easy on him.
I think it's to get the passing game going early. I know we've been squeezing out these victories, and they're fun to watch, and I get real jacked up when they win, but I want the Steelers to take a lead early, be more comfortable. Let's let Landry play from ahead as opposed to forcing him to play from behind. Yeah, he looked cool as a cucumber last week when he came in, but this week the Chiefs are going to have a whole entire week to prepare for this guy. I mean, they pretty much know he's starting. I believe they're only saying Ben could start just to throw a wrinkle in there. I just don't see his knee being healthy enough for that to happen.
Well, I will say this. He did say he feels 100%. He feels 100%, but he needs to practice today to see if he can make those moves and still feel 100%.
A few years ago when he said he felt 100% in that San Francisco game and he was clearly hurt and barely could even move and we got throttled. Big Ben will always say he's healthy because he always wants to play. But I want Pittsburgh to get a lead. Let's play from ahead. I don't want to force this young guy, third-string quarterback, to be playing from behind because I'm just afraid that Kansas City's offense might not make enough mistakes for us to be able to get that come-from-behind victory this week. You can't.
It's the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. Either they're going to do nothing in the first half and have to come from behind to win the game, or they're going to be up in the first half and just back off and let them come back. That's how the Steelers work, man.
They got to get ahead. You can't force a young guy like Landry to try to play from behind in his first start.
You don't want him to, but
that's a recipe
you got
for
to trust him to do it if he has to.
What's your prediction for this week?
Well, I'm going to say if Big Ben plays, they're going to blow him out 33-12, I will say. But if Landry Jones plays, I'll say the Pittsburgh Steelers still go out there and score over 20 points. I'll say they score 3 touchdowns in one way or another, score 24 points total, and Kansas City will keep it somewhat close, 15 points, 24-15.
I think it's going to be a long, slow game. I think Pittsburgh fans are expecting Landry to come out and light it up. I think he'll hit Martavis Bryant for some big plays. I just don't see it being consistent throughout the whole game. You know, I heard that Landry had his worst practice of his career Friday before the game on Sunday. So there's nothing to have been said to make this guy, everybody think he's so great. I'm not hating on him at all because he came in and won us that game. But I think it's going to be long, it's going to be slow, it's going to be a boring game. I think Pittsburgh wins this football game 18-10.
18-10.
18-10. It's going to be
and that's with Landry Jones, right? What if Big Ben does play?
I don't think it's going to be much different. Ben doesn't play that great in his first games back. He's under 200 yards passing. He's under 500 for his career. I think they may be able to squeeze out a little more points, like maybe 24. But if it's Big Ben, I would say 21-10, maybe 21-7 because the field position would probably be better because he's a better field general out there and everything. He makes smart plays. But I think the defense is really just going to clamp down on Kansas City. The offense will get just enough done, and they win this football game. They get ready for a big game coming up next week against the Cincinnati Bengals. That's going to mean a lot. We need the Bengals to lose.
So no turnovers by Kansas City's offense. You think Alex Smith will take care of the ball?
I think it's going to be a turnover-free game. That's why I think it's going to be low scoring. It's going to be a lot of moving back and forth and punting from around the 50 and pinning the other team back, and then they make it kind of the 50, and it's just going to be one of those games. I expect to see the middle of the field pretty tore up from a lot of running.
What I want to see, I just want to see Landry Jones go down the field a little bit early and then start with those screen passes to Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell when things already opened up and not everyone's not up at that line.
I mean, we said it with Vic. I would love to see them just come out in a max protect with maybe just Brown and Bryant on the outside and let Bryant run and throw it to him on the first play. Overthrow him if you have to. You know, you don't want to turn the ball over. But I want to see them put pressure early. I just don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to play it safe like they always do. And they're not going to unleash Landry the way we all want them to. Do you know what 47's prediction was?
I know he's picking the Steelers to win.
What about Easy?
Easy always predicts a Steelers win.
Are we underdogs this week, do you know?
No, I think we're 2.5 or 3-point favorites.
Wow, on the road with a third-string quarterback.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, I told you, man, Kansas City, look at this. They let up 159 points already this season.
They're giving up 26.5 a game. That's not too good. Their defense gives up less yards per game than ours does, though.
Yeah, that's because teams were playing from behind and they start passing like mad. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs are a team that really needs to win by the run, and Jamal Charles was the answer there. And Kendrick West really got to step up and show half the ability of Jamal Charles.
Is it a lost season now for Kansas City already?
Yeah, 1-5, you're done. That's why I don't expect much out of this game, man. I think the Steelers are just going to go out there and blow them out because the Chiefs, they're already down because their record is terrible. They lost one of the best running backs in football, and their top receiver might be gone for a while now, too.
Well, everybody says how hard of a place Arrowhead is to play. The Steelers are 10-6 all time at Arrowhead Stadium.
And they're 0-2 there this year.
Let's hope they can get to 11-6. I just don't think it's going to be quite as easy as most fans. But that's all we got for you. Fans, you got anything to say? Hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube and clicking subscribe. Keep leaving some comments. We love to answer them.